Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kristen, and today I am making a f***ed up set inspired by the movie Beau is Afraid. And look, I know that this movie and its director, they're divisive, okay? You either love it or you hate it. But do not worry if you are not a fan, because I'm not gonna fangirl that hard over it. And I did find some interesting things that anybody can enjoy, whether you like this director or not. And you may as well stick around to watch me paint dicks on my nails, you know? That's probably never gonna happen again. But yeah, this video is definitely like rated R for mature themes, okay? I'm just gonna get right into it. So, Beau's Afraid is a dark comedy. I saw it in theaters a few weeks back. Right now, as I'm making this video, it's no longer in theaters where I am, anyway, and it's not available yet on any streaming services. I really wanted to watch it again because so much happens that there's no way I was able to take it all in on my first viewing. Plus, I took an edible before seeing it, so yeah, I'm definitely probably missing a few things. But anyway, the movie did inspire me to make a set of nails, and there was lots of really good imagery in the movie for me to pull from. So I'm painting the inside of the nails as well as the outside because I just don't want the tops to be too bulky, and I thought maybe I could do a coat underneath to help with the opacity without building up the top too much, if that makes sense. But yeah, we're using a mixed color. It's a pale gray with a tint of blue. This is in reference to Beau's wardrobe. Beau is, of course, our main character, and he wears a lot of clothes that are oversized, kind of boxy, pale blues, and grays. So yeah, that's why I'm doing the base this really pale gray with just a tint of blue. I saw an interview where the director said that blue is Beau's color, so yeah. By the way, I watched a bunch of interviews with the director. I mean, I do that for lots of movies that I like, but Ari Aster in particular is so hard or so challenging to listen to because he takes a really long time to formulate what he's going to say. So you have to be really, really patient watching his interviews because it takes him forever to say what he needs to say. And kind of as I'm saying that, I'm realizing that a lot of people would describe his movies that way as well. But yeah, I guess he can be a bit long-winded, both in real life and in his art. So there was a couple of things that stood out to me in these interviews that made me realize I need to look into a few things further. The first being that the movie was pretty regularly described by critics as being Kafkaesque. It actually sounded kind of annoying and pretentious to me at first, but I didn't know what it meant, so here's what it means. When something is described as Kafkaesque, it's referring to Franz Kafka, born in 1883. So Franz was a novelist and a short story writer whose work blended elements of realism with elements of the fantastic. His work often had an isolated protagonist who would face bizarre and surreal predicaments. There would be recurring themes of alienation, existential anxiety, guilt, and absurdity. And all of that is actually 1,000% this movie. That's probably the best description of this movie, available. I was just like, wow, that is a perfect way to describe this film. So even though it sounds pretentious AF, it's very accurate. Another term that I didn't recognize in the interviews was picaresque, not to be confused with picturesque, which I learned. The director described this movie as picaresque. He said that he always wanted to make a picaresque movie, and I didn't know what he meant. So with the help of Google, I figured it out, and here's what it is. It refers to a genre of fiction that follows a rogue hero through episodic adventures. They usually have elements of comedy and satire, and a couple of notable examples would be like the adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Don Quixote. So again, sounds pretentious, but a very accurate description because you follow Beau, who is a total mess, but he's still very likable. And we follow him through these phases of his life like an epic adventure, except he is just going to his mom's house. So that should give you a bit of understanding of what the movie is like. I'm assuming most people that are going to watch this right now haven't seen it. But yeah, it's both epic but suffocatingly small. It's hilarious, shocking, and confusing at times. It feels like a dream. It's absurd. It constantly changes in tone, in pace, and story. And if you try to figure it out, you won't be able to because it is nonsensical on purpose. The director literally said in an interview, "Don't try to figure it out. It's stupid." That's probably my favorite quote from a director about their own movie, like ever. But yeah, if you watch it, you just kind of have to go in with an open mind and let it happen, let it kind of wash over you. A lot of people are going to say that this movie feels like anxiety, and I agree with that. I also think it feels like a stream of consciousness in a way. Like if you've ever had anxious thoughts, you know that they spiral you into these wild, unrealistic scenarios that can be really scary and just end up feeding your little anxiety monster inside. So, yeah, I do agree that this movie feels like anxiety in a bunch of ways, but especially in its absurdity. For the first half of the movie, I was laughing pretty much through all of it, with a few moments of shock for sure, but the tone does change and take a drastic turn, and it becomes kind of more mesmerizing and melancholy. So if you find yourself liking the first part of the movie, but then liking it less and less as it goes on, and even hating the ending, then that's on purpose. You're supposed to enjoy it less and less until we get to the very anticlimactic ending. So, yeah, this movie actually becomes quote unquote worse as it goes on purpose. The character of Beau, he doesn't learn anything. He doesn't change or grow or learn any valuable lessons, and that's by design. And I know I said I wasn't going to fangirl too much, but I do think that that's a brilliant way to interpret anxiety into a movie structure because anxiety really gets you nowhere. So, hopefully, that gives you a decent vibe of what you should expect should you choose to watch this movie. It is 3 hours long, which is not a big deal for me. I love a long movie. I didn't feel like it was hard to get through, but I saw a lot of reviewers say that it was way too long and too self indulgent. And I agree that it is self indulgent, not necessarily in a bad way, though, because I'm coming at it from the perspective of, as an artist. So he was given the opportunity to make this movie that's been on his mind for a decade. He never thought he would be able to make it. And now here you go. He's got this big budget to do it. And yeah, of course, you're going to indulge in that experience. Just like as an artist, you're going to want to yeah, put everything into it. So, yeah, I don't mind that part. Oh, and by the way, I'm low key trying to not talk about the nails so that you won't know what's coming next, just like the movie. I'm being such a nerd about it. Since I just mentioned the movie's budget, I think that's a good segue to talk about how this movie performed financially. So, undeniably, Ari Aster earned his credibility in the movie making world to be able to pursue a passion project. So, to lay it out, in 2018, he came out with Hereditary. It had a budget of 10 million and worldwide it grossed over 82 million. Huge hit. The next year, Midsummer was released, 2019. The budget was 9 million and it grossed just over 48 million worldwide. And that takes us to Beau is Afraid 2023, a budget of 35 million. And at this time, it has grossed just over 10 million worldwide. This movie is essentially a risk that has not paid off. Now, that being said, we are in a different world now where, like, not as many people go to the theater. So this may make up its budget with, like, streaming sales. Like, obviously, I pre ordered a digital copy because I'm a stan. But yeah, when I went to see it in the theater, there was literally only six other people there. And I saw his two previous films in theaters, and they were both packed theaters. So it was definitely a huge difference compared to his other movies. But yeah, this movie is technically a flop. I think it's going to be more appreciated over time, but only time will tell. So now I'm thinking, where did the budget go? Where did the 35 million go to? And I don't know anything about how much it costs to produce a movie, so this is definitely just like my humble opinion. There is a beautiful 20-minute animated dream sequence that could have eaten up a chunk of the budget for sure. But I really think that having Joaquin Phoenix in the lead role is what cost the most. I'd be willing to bet they probably paid him upwards of like 20 million out of their 35 million budget. Joaquin Phoenix is one of those super intense actors that just like completely transforms into his roles. So many reviewers that I watched said that he's the best actor working right now. And I don't know if that's true, but he is definitely a big deal. He's probably the perfect actor to play Beau. He did an amazing job, no question. Yeah, no one's going to dispute that he gave an amazing performance. Okay, let me give you a little bit of context for the nails. So, I was inspired mostly from the first two acts of the movie, and there was a scene with this girl and some paint that really stuck with me the most on first viewing. So, even though this looks like a bucket of water, it's actually supposed to be paint. And for the nails upcoming, there's going to be more of a graffiti feel to it, which is more a reflection of like the first act of the movie. Beau lives in this like really sketchy apartment complex, and there's like all kinds of like disgusting graffiti everywhere. So there's a little bit of context for you. Hopefully it helps. So, moving along, outside of the role of Beau, the director intentionally hired comedy actors or theater actors in the supporting cast. Among the more notable cast would be Nathan Lane, who is just so naturally funny. Like, he's so funny without even trying, it seems. Apparently, Joaquin Phoenix couldn't, like, look him in the eye for certain shots, so he's always, like, looking at the bridge of his nose because he was scared he would start laughing. I was reading about the scene where Beau wakes up in a teenage girl's bedroom surrounded by boy band posters and stuffed unicorns. And fun fact, I totally spotted a Pushinicorn, which I also own. But yeah, it's a funny scene, and it was hard to film because Joaquin is so serious. They were working on this scene for like 3 hours. It wasn't coming together the way it was supposed to, and Nathan Lane had to have like a talk with Ari to be like, the scene is supposed to be funny, bro. And he recalls saying to Joaquin, look, Joaquin, we don't know each other, and I don't know how to break this to you, but this scene is supposed to be funny. He continues to give him a stuffed unicorn prop, tells him what to do to be funny, and Joaquin is like, I can't do that. And Nathan Lane is like, sure you can. You won an Oscar. Put your mind to it. I was not looking forward to explaining this part, but Beau is like a middle-aged virgin who is terrified of coming because he's been told his whole life that that's how his father died. Like when he was conceived, his father came and then he died. That's why he died. So yeah, he has this like horrible fear of dying if he has an orgasm. Poor fella. So yeah, that's why I'm rating Come Die on this nail. Okay. Oh, and now I'm gonna draw dicks on the nails. I feel so weird releasing this into the world. Like, imagine how Ari Aster feels. Like, this movie's so weird. He says it's so him, and you're just like, what? Are you okay? Like, oh my god. Anyway, yeah. Can't forget to make those balls hairy, as you do. Um, so yeah, okay. I'm distracted by the dicks, okay? Moving on. The movie also stars Parker Posey, who I really like for no particular reason. She just seems like a really cool and fun person. Apparently, she was a big fan of Ari Aster beforehand, so she was super psyched to join the cast. And her role is really, really, really important. She's part of the climax of the movie, shall we say. So Parker Posey is in this hilarious scene. It's really the scene of the movie. Like, it's what people were talking about. It features the song by Mariah Carey, Always Be My Baby, and you will literally never be able to hear that song the same way again, okay? I suspect that a nice chunk of the movie's budget probably went to getting the rights to that song. Apparently, they tried like 300 other songs over that scene, but they always came back to Always Be My Baby. So that's just, it was the original song that he wanted, and it was what was meant to be. So Mariah Carey was actually sent the scene with the song for her approval, and she signed off on it. And if you see the scene, you're going to be like, really? She signed off on that? And, it's kind of rumored that the video quality was bad. Maybe she didn't see the full thing. And the director joked that she was obviously too busy to pay attention to what she was signing. But it turns out that Mariah Carey is just way cooler than I ever expected. She was so cool with it and even attended the world premiere with the cast and crew. Like, major props to Miss Mariah. That song's been stuck in my head for weeks. Honestly, this movie's been stuck in my head for weeks. I'm really dying to see it again, pick up on all the little details that I might have missed. But yeah, I really wanted to do a nail inspired by that one scene with Parker Posey and the Mariah Carey song. So my plan was to make what I now lovingly call my cum thumb. My camera needed to charge, so I actually made it off camera, which might be a good thing because it might have looked a little too graphic making this nail. It honestly looks so nasty, but that's on purpose. I mixed like white gel with bubblegum gel and just kind of like smeared it over like somebody came on it and then like wrote kind of badly Always Be My Baby over it and put a little ball sack up top like yeah, I'm kind of glad you guys didn't see me make that one, but we're getting there. We're almost done with the set. So the last cast member that I want to talk about is Patti LuPone. And I'm kind of ashamed that I didn't know anything about her prior to this. It turns out she is a huge star in the theater world, like just a massive and well respected talent. I am not like a theater person, or I've never really explored musicals to any extent, so the theater stuff is kind of outside of my comfort zone for sure. But yeah, anyway, Patti LuPone was cast as Beau's overbearing and manipulative mother. The director said he needed her role to act as a punchline for the movie, but you'd also be scared of her. The role of the mother in this movie is essentially treated like a god, but kind of like a one of those scary, vengeful gods, you know? And in terms of why she was cast for this role, I learned that Miss LuPone herself is a super outspoken person. She will put anyone in their place at any time without hesitation. I looked up a video of her stopping a show to yell at an audience member for using their phone. Apparently, her doing that was part of the reason why the director thought she would be perfectly cast in this role. But yeah, and then for fun, I decided to Google Patti LuPone goes off, and I got a bunch of hits of her just scolding people or talking some straight shit about other actors. Honestly, she kind of scares me, but I also really respect her. And I love just how unapologetically herself she is. It was a real treat learning about her. And I'm gonna start to wrap things up by going through some of my favorite quotes about this movie. First up, the director, he described the movie as if you pumped up a 10-year-old full of Zoloft and then had them get your groceries. He also described the movie's plot as a Jewish Lord of the Rings, but Beau is just going to his mom's house. I think that one's so good. And the director is Jewish, by the way, heavy themes of Jewish guilt and the Jewish mom type of thing throughout the movie. Oh, and Patti LuPone said it was the best role she's ever been offered, which is quite the compliment considering her big career. But let's wrap things up with these Beau is Afraid themed nails. Look, I know it was a really weird one. This is a weird video this week. I don't know what the reception's gonna be, but if you made it through all this information and you're sticking around till the end, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I would love to hear from some of you in the comments section, or, if you see the movie down the road, come back and comment on this video. Tell me how much you hated it. I'm assuming most people hate it. I haven't come across very many people who like it as much as I do. That's all I'm saying, but yeah. Oh, and once this movie is available on streaming, you'll probably be able to find some of the scenes on YouTube. Like, I really hope that the Always Be My Baby scene is available on YouTube soon. But yeah, here's the finished set. Somebody finished. Oh my god, that's such a bad joke. Let me know your thoughts if you have any. Overall, like, it's weird, but I actually kind of like the graphic aesthetic of everything. I think that the blue and the pink are like tied together throughout the set. I think the cum thumb is hilarious. I just hope that you had a fun time hanging out with me. That's the most important thing. So, thank you again for being here. I think you're amazing. And I really hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.